You are in for an interesting ride.
Hello, I'm Peter Nelson, and I have a song on the album. It's called Alien Agenda. It comes from a collection of 10 songs, and the title of the album is 10 Thoughts to Consider. So, a full-time day job. I teach high school. What I did was, I would say that, well, first off, music is a big part of my life, always has been. And my goal in writing was to basically bring together my experience in music. I've always had a great love of music. I've studied, I have a degree in composition and theory, and I've worked in studios, I worked as a guitar player. And I wanted to focus that with I would have to say, not obsession, but strong interest in extraterrestrial intelligence and the greater questions that I think most people will ask themselves when they actually stop the busyness of their lives for a moment. So as I said, the album was called 10 Thoughts to Consider. And one of the songs was Alien Agenda. And the lyric and the music go together well. And the idea of lyrics and music being effective is the fact that you can speak words and it stimulates one side of the brain. You have music, which stimulates the other side of the brain. If they're properly married, they have a more profound effect. So what I wanted to do was tell a story and essentially open the listener to the energy of possibility. Okay. So it's called Alien Agenda. And the thrust of the lyric is that we're not alone. We never have been. And if we're looking for connect to other intelligences or other worlds or whatever, they've been here for a long time. And their imprint and their footprint is weaved right into our society, right into our consciousness. And it is omnipotent, persistent, and not always benevolent. The verses and the chorus are quite benevolent. And they just drive home this point that perhaps we should question everything that we see, from religion to why we behave the way we behave, because we're imprinted by our parents, we're imprinted by their parents, we're imprinted by their parents. So this consciousness is reverberated down generation to generation, and we're largely unconscious. I'd say 95% of the things we do are a reflex. So it just offers the listener to kind of question these things. It talks about, indoctrinating our children, offering them up to its sting. And then the bridge of the song talks about who we really are. We are God, we're sovereign, we're free. So each of us is that spark of consciousness that is source. The song is quite negative, but I would offer that it was written in a time, I think in 2011 or 2012. And I would say since then, things have changed quite a bit. I think that we have moved forward. The consciousness has moved forward to a large degree. I see it around me on the macro level, on the micro level. If we look at the world stage, at how insane it seems, but I would offer that perhaps it's always been that it's insane. It's just being exposed more and more. I would say that there is a greater intelligence, both benevolent and non-benevolent, that has a profound hand in all that we see and all that we do. I've always been fascinated, always been drawn. I once saw a light ship, I think about 30 years ago, and was just mesmerized. I was there. Alien agenda and alien intelligence is part of our culture. It's part of our history. It's weaved right in to the point where we're teaching it to our children, not even knowing. So I think that as we go through this awakening, we're going to realize what we are and what our true power is. And that is my feeling. So that's the point of the music. Those are more or less my experiences. I would say in my experience that I was very drawn to the extraterrestrial, just knowing what it is or experiencing something, and realizing that it's tied much more closely to spirituality.
Yeah.
Which is drawn to this. What really, I would say, woke me up would be, I went to the ECETI ranch, I think in 2012. I went to the World, I think it's Science Spirit Conference, and there were 12 speakers. And among those speakers were Michal Ledwith, who did the Hamburger Universe, a brilliant man. He was I believe, a theology professor for several American universities and was an advisor to the Pope, if I'm correct, and was excommunicated for his talk about ETs. There was Brooks Agnew, who's a brilliant, brilliant scientist, fabulous fellow. Lisa Renee, I was very drawn to. She has Energetic Synthesis, runs that website, and had like a monthly membership and a lot of coaching, a lot of information. So I took in maybe 200 hours worth of her teachings. It was fabulous stuff, really explained a lot of things. And that really opened things up. But I'd say for me on a personal level, when I did this Kunlun Qi-Gong, which was presented through the ECETI ranch, I had a profound experience. I was 14 hours from home, so I wasn't able to drive back. And it was a 3-day conference. I was profoundly ill the first night. And people there are 3 people with a fully engaged third eye who can see energy, and said something had blasted through my crown chakra. And the first picture of the evening was me with a huge orb over my head. And something did change. And I basically crawled out of the place. And the second morning, I woke up and then went back to sleep and had a lucid dream. And in the dream, I had died, but temporarily all my programming had been removed, is what I feel. I had a profound, very deep Roman Catholic upbringing, a lot of fear, a lot of negativity. And it was rock solid in my fabric, and it was released. And it was just uncontrollable laughter, just an incredible sense of bliss. And I went home after the conference, and my wife said, I changed this. You're a completely different person. And this lasted for about 2 weeks. So I've been seeking to get back there, doing a lot of personal development, a lot of work in that time. So anyway, that's where the Lisa Renee thing came in. I'd studied with her. And then eventually I gravitated to Franco DeNicola, who is a unified soul. He works out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Profound, just a incredibly benevolent presence, a unified soul. So he is a culmination of all 12 souls and then another soul group. So he's completely in touch with communicating with your soul, souls that are on other planets, higher consciousness, all sorts of consciousness. And his whole thrust is unity consciousness, the concept that we're here, we can partake in whatever it is we want, but we don't have to let it become us. As an example, if you twist my nose and slap my head, I might be upset. But every time I think about it, I'm indulging in it and I'm upset again. So it's owning your power and controlling your consciousness. And that's mainly his thrust. I mean, it's ongoing. So that largely is my journey. So the point of the music really, I would say, is to flesh out and give emotion to the concept. And the album was 10 thoughts to consider. So 10 things to think about. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying you have to agree with me. I'm just saying open yourself to the energy of possibility and consider it. So it's a gentle offer. I mean, I've had sightings. I've had 4 or 5 sightings. Very clear, generally light ships. I would say there's so much more to our reality. We're one small planet of 9 around a small star, which is one of not a million, not a billion, but 100 billion solar systems. And that solar system, or that galaxy, is one of a billion galaxies. So to think that we're it is just asinine. So clearly there's far more than we realize. So I had some profound experiences there. We did call in UFOs. We did see them, and I've seen them since on my own. I've seen the triangle ships that I believe are ours, and I've seen the light ships, which are clearly another consciousness altogether. And
your song, it sounds like there was some angst there.
No, I mean, the angst would be with the architecture of our existence here. I forget the lyric now, but something swimming in the water, brushing past your feet. The whole idea that it's omnipotent, it's very present, but it's very persistent.
Do you have a feeling then that there is a less than benevolent with all of, maybe there was some issues around what's going on?
You are dead on. There is a benevolence that's expressed in the song, but I would say now, with my perspective, it's a thing of the past. We're basically floating. We are ascending. Our frequency is rising. The things that are heavy are being left behind the filter. They cannot make it across. And I would offer that, yes, the song speaks of a benevolence, but I would say there is much benevolence. And I would say that we're now beginning to embrace the benevolence, the kindness. And as we see it in the macro, in the micro, with the world stage, what is happening, that's madness, but it's just things being exposed. And we can see it on the micro level. I see it in my work. I see it all around me. I find that people who cannot proceed towards a unity consciousness, cannot proceed towards a you and me, Having increasing problems.
I'm glad I understand that about the song, because I didn't want to misrepresent it. And I also think it's fine to say, actually, you know, it doesn't feel great sometimes. And we are human beings here still at the end of this tether that we're on from the spiritual and all the other layers that we are. I think it's absolutely fine to address the darker issues and to bring it out into the light.
For that, yes, the verses, they talk about the dark side, but if you listen to the bridge, it says, you know, a secret that they keep is I forget what it is. It basically says that we're God, we're sovereign, we're free.
Yeah.
That really is the pearl in the whole thing.
Yeah, that's lovely. Really in alignment with your own thinking, in as much as I see it as a bridge between the consciousness of those who have been working in that area and who embrace the other intelligence, ET, whatever you want to call it, level, with the general public who may be still not quite available to take that on board, but through music, through some of the spoken word, because Eklectia is eclectic by nature and name, and it has spoken word, as you know, and a few little interviews that I've done, which I think are really exciting stuff. And it's a world first. Lovely that you're part of it.
I applaud your efforts in bringing these things to the fore. And I think that perhaps 5 years ago, the average person might not be ready to hear this. But as we move forward, I find that people are more and more open to these things and more increasingly questioning what's going on. So I would offer that it's well-timed, and I applaud you for doing that. Very good.
Well, I really hope that Eklectia, with your fabulous track, Alien Agenda, will be a bit of a hit. And I can't wait for it to develop its legs and wings.
I want to consider the power of music and the power of the lyric. Why are there national anthems? Music is very powerful. It's a wonderful medium that you're using. And if you consider this lyric, you better watch out, you better not pout, better not cry. He sees you when you're sleeping. I mean, you think about that. I want to do something very different. I want to do something empowering.
Absolutely. Well, Peter Nelson over there in Ontario, Canada, place of my birth. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm just going to say thank you very much for the moment.
Swimming in your shadow, brushing past your feet. When the water's dark and the water's deep, it's subtle and persistent as it latches on. Silently as you drift along.